With the growing existence of biotechnology and the fight to mitigate genetically modified organisms, the Ministry of Agriculture and other stakeholder organizations are embarking on several initiatives to develop greater awareness on this issue. As part of Grenada's commitment under the Cartagena Protocol on Biosafety, a 2-day training workshop was held at the Grenada Boys Secondary School to highlight Grenada's obligation to the signed protocol. This protocol is an international agreement which aims to ensure the safe handling, transport and use of living modified organisms resulting from the modern biotechnology that may have adverse effects on biological diversity, which is also a considered risk to humans. Grenada, being a signatory to that protocol, is required to exchange information on biosafety through the Biosafety Clearing House so that other parties and interested persons can access the information. During the 2-day training held on June 18 and 19, Cartagena Protocol Regional Advisor Fred Phillips engaged participants, thus underscoring Grenada's role in ensuring that the obligation under the protocol is kept. Chief Agricultural Officer in the Ministry of Agriculture and Lands and the national focal point for biosafety in Grenada, Daniel Lewis, explained Grenada's involvement in biosafety according to the Cartagena Protocol.
Parties or countries have certain obligations that they have to put in place. Obligations such as putting in the necessary legal and institutional framework in place, because the existing laws of those countries or parties do not adequately address GMOs, genetically modified organisms. So you have to. So in that regard, Grenada was fortunate to have received support from a regional capacity building project, which was funded by the Global Environmental Environment Facility. And also UNEP was the executing agency and UE Trinidad, and therefore we developed a draft biosafety bill which is presently before the Ministry of Legal Affairs, and we hope that at some stage, not too long from now, this could be made into a law of Grenada, and in so doing it would allow proper implementation of the protocol, so that we'd have when people make requests or institutions make requests to bring in, let us say, GMOs, for example. If that is the case, we'd have to have the proper risk assessment and risk management in place to ensure that whatever we consider to be deleterious on the environment, the natural environment and people's health and so forth, that we could say no, because we have done our part.
The representatives from the Ministry of Agriculture, GCNA, Customs Division, Grenada Bureau of Standards, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education, Grenada Cocoa Association, Tourism, and Climate Smart Agriculture and Rural Enterprise Program, SIEP, all have a part to play in the successful implementation of the protocol, Lewis explained.
The importance of the BCA training is precisely to arm the participants with the knowledge of accessing information on the Biosafety Clearing House of the CBD, so that in future, when applications are made and people are in doubt, you could access and see what other countries, what were the perspective or the decision made by other countries, and what are the reasons for making those decisions. That's precisely why the BCH, accessing information on the BCH, placing information on the BCH is so important. And it is in this context we could see the importance of this training workshop here today. For example, border control, which are the customs, they're an important stakeholder. And because remember, if anything's coming into Grenada, they are the first one that interface. So they could allot Ministry of Agriculture, which is the focal point for biosafety in Grenada. So that's why I think the most important thing is information, capacity building.
Cartagena Protocol Regional Advisor Fred Phillips explained the benefits that can be derived from using the Biosafety Clearing House.
Once you connect up to the Biosafety Clearing House, once you're a part of this treaty, you gain access. Right, and I may add that this access is available to everyone, but you have obligations to give information as well as receive it. But once you connect to the Biosafety Clearing House, you receive information about biosafety, about who is doing what with what living modified organisms where. Right, you learn about what decisions have been made, where people have refused to use them, right? And where they've said, yes, we will bring them in, and you see the reasons why people do that. That helps you come to your own decision. Should we let this stuff come in, right? Will it be any good for us? What should we keep in mind before we just let it go out there into our environment? Anyone can go to the BCH website right now, right, at a bch.cbd.int, right? And you can look, there'll be a list of countries, right? And you can actually go pick out your country and scroll down and look at it and see information about that particular country. But right there on the web page, you'll see breaking news announcements, and this Grenadian workshop is probably right there now. The national focal point was with me this morning, right? And he and I made sure we got the wording right to post something right now that says news. There's something happening on Grenada. We're training people about biosafety. This is all about information exchange. So everyone knows what's happening where and who's doing what with these organisms. And then you can see, based on all this, you can come to a decision and figure out, will we be bringing this in? Under what terms or conditions will we have this in? Is it something that you can plant and just have grow freely in the environment? Or is it something you'll bring in and just process, right? So that you shouldn't have, say, a genetically modified plant growing wild and somehow cross-pollinating, with local biodiversity.
SIAP Representative Aidan Forto and Senior Quarantine Officer with the Pest Management Unit within the Ministry of Agriculture and focal point for the Biosafety Clearing House, Bertrand Monroe, gave their respective view on what they hope to benefit from the Biosafety Clearing House workshop.
I would like to be more knowledgeable in terms of the risks, the challenges, and so associated with biotechnology, and how those risks can be mitigated for the advantage of farmers and those who use the application.
Pest Management Unit really is an institution that's, if we ought to implement, because there is a component under the legislation where quarantine officers would be responsible for implementing it together with border control, border security, because you're dealing with the movement of goods that have been created by biotechnology and which concerns biosafety. And so we're looking at protecting our environment, and so we're looking at the negative impact of genetically modified organisms. So we're responsible basically for doing what we call the risk analysis and to determine whether or not we should allow certain genetically modified organism into the country.
The Ministry of Agriculture will continue to raise awareness on biosafety for the benefit of all of Grenada. For the Ministry of Agriculture, I am Karima Lewis.